Hello, everybody, and thank you again for joining my channel. I just came here to say a few things. I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible. I'm going to do a very quick reading of a channeling an interaction that we've had where there was a Q&A involved, and we were able to briefly have a conversation. So it wasn't as much as information or knowledge about different species, but just like the title would probably indicate, are we there yet? Are we in 5D yet? So it's going to show the process of knowing for yourself with a very simple explanation. And I've already read this for myself today, so I am aware of what's it all about. Then I have a picture to show you. Now, certain things happen a certain way. I remember thinking about showing this picture of. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay. Thank you for that. So I have this picture of an image that I had in my head. I had this image in April. So I had a visit in April, give or take. I remember taking my son back and forth from school then, and I think I had another visit during the summertime while I was out during the whole pandemic situation. So those two times there, I can remember vividly the energies and how we felt, how I felt specifically, but how we had this connection, which is great. Um, and then in the first time at around April, I believe, May, April, right around that time, I had this image in my head, and I drew it. I gave it to my step niece, and she lost it. Um, she drew it for me again, and she knows that she saw the image and she knew what I was talking about. So redoing the image, it wasn't necessarily difficult for her because she remembers seeing it, but she did lose the original one. It makes no difference. Um, Here is the the image that I'm about to show you, and this is what popped up then. And a lot of us wondered, well, how do you look in the fifth dimension, and how are things? How would you say that you'd present yourself? And this is pretty much how I look. Now, it's a little different than how I look here on planet Earth, but this is how I look. I just want to show her name so much there. Um, but yeah, that's how I look there in the fifth dimension. So it's a lot different than here, how it is. And then you can say that things are reverted. They're not exactly linear. They're more crossed in a lot of ways. And similarly, then for any one of you out there, you might be thinking, well, I might be just completely different then. It's very possible. It's advanced things to know about. And I'm just going to leave it at that because it's not really meant to be complicated. I don't mean to purposefully lead you down this path that you won't understand what's going on. So this is the reading that we got, and it says, "Are we in the fifth dimension? Are we there yet?" Um, so they go on to say, "Good afternoon, beloved. We are the Pleiadian. We are Pleiadian collective from Eros. Allow us to say that names are not necessary." And then they go on to say, "Are we in the fifth dimension?" That's the question. That's the Q&A scenario that I've been developing here with them. And mostly I hear the answers and I have to just formulate or just kind of tap into a little more of the energy, um, so that I can, put together a question, which is obviously part of the answer as well. It's already included in the answer. So are we in the fifth dimension? Yes and no. There are pockets that allow a fifth dimensional experience to take place. Have you noticed a pushback in the news lately? The human consciousness has put back these instances and has clearly taken a step down in dimension. And they go on to say, can you feel that? That we're not in the fifth dimension, or we just, purposely being moved down? So I didn't. The answer is yes, and what I've answered to them, what the way we responded or interacted was that, you mean those things that have been happening at supermarkets and heavily populated areas where people are being hurt? And she said yes. This collective said yes. Then it goes on to explain the differences so that you for yourself can tell if you're in the fifth dimension or not. Now, those who are tuned into these frequencies, the one that has been recently brought us down, will acknowledge and make that the talk of the day. And there will be an orientation towards these topics. Okay? Now it goes on to say, those that do not feed off this energy will clearly move up and away from these lower vibrations. And if it affects everybody, it wants you to remember this at some level. So it affects everybody, and then they go on to say, remember this at some level. It affects everybody. They go on to say, let me ask you this. Does your consciousness not acknowledge these dastardly events? Yes, right? Everybody acknowledges that these happens. Now it says this, it goes on to say, do you feed into these energies? No, right? And it goes on to say, there lies your answer. So, do you feed into these energies? Do you gain momentum, an emotional, energetic momentum from these pushes, these energies that allow you to move on, right, from there? Or do you just say, hey, I know it happened, I understand the reasoning behind this, and I can see everyone else around me, follow those marching orders of whatever they're being shown, for them to create dialogue regarding these frequent events. Okay? That's kind of how I see it for myself. So we saw the image of how I looked there on the fifth dimension. There was also a mammal, and mammal DNA is like the type of genetic modifications that you've done as a collective, everybody, within that mammal DNA. So let's see. This is one of the species that has mixed with mammal DNA, and I didn't get to have an interaction. This being did know who I was when I was on board the ship, and I've already told you the story about how I was on board the ship. That was in one of my previous videos. Oh boy, I just had it. So you drew them on different pages, and I had trouble finding it yesterday too. There it is. He's kind of like right in the beginning of the sketchbook. All right. So the color that it's just for illustration purposes. He's not really gray like this. He's beige looking like, and he does have this on his neck here. He does have a sort of band. It's not too thin like that one's a little thicker than that band that you see there on his neck. Let me just show you again. Right. And he speaks telepathically. He has mammal DNA is what he wants to tell you mostly, and that you do have you have done these kinds of experiments, let's say, these sort of genetic modifications to make a better species of sorts. So you've been involved in these kind of scenarios as well. Let's see. Allow me to continue to think about what I was gonna say. Oh, right. Okay, so if you're planning on traveling outside, if you're looking back and you're thinking to yourself, well, we're done with Earth, we want to explore a little more outside of Earth, my suggestion to you is to take a crystal from Earth and take it with you. Now, I'm just going to clarify something that was said to me. How crystals were so important, how you were so worried, or how you were just concerned, right? You were concerned about how important crystals are. And it just took me time to meditate for myself, to, just kind of push away the negative energies that were around me at that time, and kind of just get a full reading and a full understanding of what you meant by that. All right. And in this case, I understood it because it just managed to come to me at the right time. So just like that image that we recently spoke about and how it looked, I drew that April, I think, 2020 or something like that. And then in the summertime, it happened again. In which case, beings that allow themselves to present themselves or introduce themselves to humanity, in which other circumstances may be, they will have their own jewelry from their own planet. Now, jewelry, it could mean a sort of rank or a designated ambassador, or just a way of knowing what level is this person, or what kind of command, or what kind of experience, or what kind of aptitude he has for his purpose. If you meet someone or you cross someone across the ship or anything like that. But those that carry jewelry, or those that carry, other than just being insignias of a title per se, or identifying an ambassador as an example as well, the jewelry is from their own planet. So they carry that with themselves. And you were wondering about why they have a crystal here, and then they have like this band, right? Their hair is blonde. He's wearing a red shirt. I think the other one's blue as well. And they have this bright crystal here, okay? And it's almost like a band, or whichever modification or whichever idea of how a crystal would be worn for them. But usually here's a good spot for it. In any case, yeah, this is to anchor their energy from their home planet. So if you were leaving Earth, if you're going to just zoom and leave the planet on a mission, you were just not going to be here for a long period of time, I advise that you take a crystal with you. My preference is to have a quartz crystal more than anything, because they're just a general all around thing to have. They're great for everything. They amplify other crystals, and they amplify your very own energy. I have one here at home. But with that being said, is the reason why they would have these sorts of adornments on their bodies. And that other question that you had a while ago, I know, it's because of where they come from, the dimension they come from, the level of their general understanding, is that this helps them keep them balanced, focused on where they're from. So if a being from the 11th dimension comes down here to this 4th dimension, it's going to feel weird, it's going to feel wonky, you're going to you feel like you're drunk, like your focus is here, then it's over there, then it's up, it's all over the place. But then this device, right, this artifact, this piece of jewelry, then would keep you focused, so you'd stay focused. All right, that's why I carry crystals with me at some given point, and they're very subtle for me. I don't generally connect with any crystal like head on. It's never a compass of where I should go, what I should do. It's you can feel the energy of it with you, but unless you're focusing on it or really in tune with it, a focused intention with the crystal, then it doesn't do any much more than be a very ambient, subtle energy around you that you could feel. In any case, I leave you with this now. I have to pick up that phone call. I hope I've been helpful. I hope I've answered your questions. And that reading will indicate of how you are or where you would feel to be in the 5th dimension. So I'll leave you well. I hope you guys have a great day. And thanks for tuning in.